Sound like a million people, huh? Woo! There you go. There you go. I gotta convince people on the video. I actually had to place that video. I was recording something and I had it initially right here, and I went through the editing, and I had to spend 2 hours trying to edit some guy that walked through the camera, just like. You have no idea how frustrating that was to just edit. So, Luigi.
My man.
You listen. You know, it's one of those things. Is Gen X? You get raised, and you hear certain names, and automatically when you hear Luigi, you just have that little voice in your head. Woo, 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 woo. You know, it's like a little cartoon character in Luigi's Mansion, Mario, and all that. And I'm like, that's just very inappropriate. I know I'm talking to myself in my own head, but let's see what this thing's got going on. Actually, I put a lot of thought into it because for a time, YouTube had this thing where they would teach you how to make guns because they just had everything on YouTube for a while. And it was very controversial. And so what happened was somewhere around 2020, they said, we cannot manufacture guns on YouTube. We can't tell people how to manufacture guns on YouTube. And you want to know what streaming service immediately picked it up? This is true. This is absolutely fucking happened. It was Pornhub. So sometime around 2000, which was when this gun was made, this silencer, this addition to this gun, which they called a ghost gun because you can't track it, somewhere around I'm like, was he on Pornhub? And he's like, man, I'm finished. Let's look into making a silencer. He had a little pain in his back. He's like, I can't afford this. I just kind of want to know what he was looking up before, he was making that silencer. Maybe I might see a few familiar faces. Don't you lie. Y'all know you see some familiar faces on that website. Part of you is even like, oh, I just can't watch it again. Can't watch it again. I'm not even impressed anymore. Let's give somebody new a chance, right? But then you just go through that 10th page and like the depravity. It's just not enough anymore. It's not enough of a rise. What else is going on? I'm not isolating the crowd too much at all, Flavius. Jay-Z tied in with P. Diddy. That's some serious stuff. That's something we should take very seriously. Poor young lady going through that thing. But I gotta say, the most cynical side of me was thinking to myself, man, Beyonce's gonna drop a dope-ass sequel to fucking Lemonade, huh? Am I right? That shit's gonna be sick. She's gonna be listening to some things, some modern music, and I'm just like, man, that's awful and everything, but who's excited about Beyonce putting out a new album? That's what I do. I've been trying to challenge myself to talk about new things every week, put it on my thing. Because I talked to somebody, I'm not gonna name names, but he's like, I studied at school to be a professional comedian. There's no way you can come up with new material every single week. And I'm like, bring it. I'm gonna do it. I don't think it's impossible. First year was studying comedy. All this actually happened. It's a true story. Acquaintance of mine I knew back in high school. He was writing this Christian comic strip. He was only putting out something every couple months. And I'm like, listen, let's do the complete comic strip. I've written a lot of science fiction, crime noir. Let's complete a comic strip. And it was a Christian comic strip, of all things. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna buckle down, we're gonna do this. And I was gonna work on it just right in December, come right into January, see how far I got. And then he abandons it, the project. And so I'm like, okay, so now I gotta do a comic strip on my own. So So I spent a whole year listening to just hundreds of comedians and reading the Bible every single day. Do you know what it's like to grow up in a Catholic home and be like, actually, Dad, right here, actually, Dad, right here, and it's like I could swing anybody any way. Like I was talking about my Christian comic strip. Like that's the only thing. Like I was going through some hardship. I was homeless. That's what kept me going, living through this vicariously through this vagabond who's an evangelist, fictional character that I'm writing about. And I'd be talking about this is one guy in a coffee shop. He's like, "Oh yeah, so you believe in God, huh? You believe in Jesus? Tell me what brought you to this. What? Oh, so you went through a hardship." And this guy was like grilling me and stuff. I'm like, all right, let's play with this. Let's see if I can save this atheist. Being a non-believer and everything. Let's see how far this conversation goes. And what's wild is the person who inspired me to do this comic strip, I would actually come up to see him. He ended up in Alaska. And during Hurricane Ida, I'm like, well, I gotta go somewhere. Let's go to Alaska. Let's see what this Alaska thing is all about. And I flew down there, and I'm talking to him, and he asked me, what have you been working on? I didn't have the heart to tell him that I was collaborating with one of my friends who worked at a porn shop, because she had some good fucking stories. That's the whole thing about me. If it's a good fucking story, I don't care what genre it is, it's a good fucking story. And I actually wrote that comic strip about, I think it took about 3 days for me to complete 90% of that comic strip. And I'm like, damn. I might not be watching YouTube enough, Pornhub enough to make a silencer, but I know my porn. And that's where I'm going to end it. Thank y'all so much. Matthew the 5th.